Welcome again to the Bhakti Zone, where we discuss all subjects connected to Bhakti, the path of devotion, the path of love, the path of the heart. We are your hosts, Vish and Dayal.
And I was waiting for you to
And
say.
today, Dayal is going to discuss.
Today, Vish is going to discuss. So we're going to talk about the subject which, I'm pretty sure many humans come across. Sometimes it's on the forefront of their lives, when a lot of existential questions pop in people's mind, and sometimes life gets so busy that you just basically do what you do and you forget about why you're doing it for. So the goal of life, right? What is the goal of life? This is a question or subject matter which was, I think, tackled by many philosophers, and many people have different opinions. Some people say it's impossible even to figure this out, and the deeper you start asking, the more depressed you become, because there's also like a nihilist school of thought that once you start questioning the existence, you see there's no meaning behind it. We all die at the end and stuff like this. So it's a little bit dark. Good news in Bhakti, which is based on the Vedic wisdom. It's very clear. It's a very clear subject, and it's actually even categorized. So Vedas speak about 4 purusharthas. A purushartha literally means, purusha means human, and artha means the goal or the value. So the value of human life. 4 purusharthas, and in Sanskrit it sounds like dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Basically, dharma, it's what you do, what your nature is, what you're made of, and what you're most comfortable, all your psychic and physic and everything, so to say, there to facilitate you doing something, being productive, and being happy at the same time, being content. Krishna even says in Bhagavad Gita, it's better to do one's own duties, even though imperfectly, than be perfect in performing someone else's duty, which is kind of counterintuitive. Like if you're perfect in doing someone else's duty, maybe this is your duty. Anyway, we discuss this. This is interesting stuff. So what we do, very often it's translated as a religion, but in reality, the Dharma, Srila Prabhupada, right, the founder of Hare Krishna movement, very often says it's like a Dharma of water is to be wet, right? Dharma of fire is to burn and be hot. So it's essential quality of the subject. And so once you perform your whatever is meant for you, then next step is artha. There's some benefit. Artha means benefit, could mean, of course, wealth, result, right? So performing what you do, you get the result, and then next one is karma, or enjoyment. Karma is something that usually identifies senses coming in the contact with a sense object and producing some kind of pleasure. Could be gross senses or subtle senses, mind, So it's enjoyment. We all pleasure seeking. So at the end of the day, we all want to get something out of what we work, and something which we get out of it, and this should produce some positive result. And then moksha is something which is transcendental, which is beyond this cycle, and means, okay, maybe there's something more to life than this, and then looking for it and getting beyond gross and subtle material sense and gross and subtle material enjoyment, and wanting to connect with the source of eternal enjoyment. Anyway, there's a lot of theory, and I'm a theory guy. Vish is practical guy. So Vish, please.
I'm the practical one?
Yeah, the practical one. So maybe just...
No, thank you for, that's a really great breakdown, simplified kind of breakdown of these 4 goals of human life. And I like to think of it a little bit as, Dharma is our inherent nature, right? So we all have this inherent nature individually or collectively, like say as a married couple, there's a dharma. As a, community, there's a dharma. As families, as maybe even as a nation, there's a specific dharma. World Cup is going on. The dharma of the team is to, represent their nation and go for the goal, go for the goal, right? Right. So there we have our inherent nature, and now there are various levels to that nature. I use the analogy of being a married couple, right? That at that point, your dharma is, you have a specific dharma to take care of your family, to do that. But then when the kids grow up and they're out of the house and whatever, then the dharma may change, right? So those are more, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks of, the kind of more dharmas that go on for a while, but it may change, right? And then we all have like an eternal dharma, right? Like an eternal nature, an eternal being that has a purpose. What is the purpose of that being, or that individual, that soul, that spirit? And this is also, of course, I think spoken about so much in, say, like modern what is your purpose? Find your purpose and follow your purpose. And and I find it to be, I find it very empowering to be able to explore what is my purpose, and then in that purpose, like follow what I love to do or what comes naturally to me. Meanwhile, explore getting better at it, explore, becoming better at whatever the things that I love to do. And then through that, then the artha can come, right? Like so many people, I find it very disturbing when I see people who they never maybe found what their purpose is. It's very scary for me. Like they haven't found what their purpose is, or who their tribe is, or what type, they're still maybe sometimes in their later stage of their life, and they're still like, oh, well, I did this for a while, I did that for a while, I did that for a while. I'm still trying to search what my purpose is. So, but when we are able to find what our passion is, what excites us, what maybe even challenges us, but it's a good challenge. And when we pursue those things, I'm using the word dharma kind of open rather than like the inherent nature of the soul right now, but like those things that inspire us, then when we get, then we can, that's the most empowering way. It's the dream of everyone to do what I love to do, whether it's my art or my being a trainer or being a coach or being various things that someone might be good at. Then when the artha comes in, then the prosperity comes in, right? The prosperity comes in. You attract the as they, in New Age terms, the universe, accommodates what you want to do. And in that artha, then, there's obviously everybody has some level of kama, right? Everyone has some level of sense enjoyment, whether it's as a, extravagant, or people are, everyone has to eat something, everyone has to sleep a certain amount, the basic needs of the body are fulfilled through this process, and the Vedas are in kind of encouraging that those things be done on the basis of dharma, right?
Right.
On the basis of dharma, on the basis of righteousness, on the basis of what the inherent nature is and what one's proclivities are, then, like you said, do what you do, even if you're not the best at it, but this is what you want to, this is what you're meant to do. And then finally, of course, there's the moksha, which to me seems,
which is, I didn't translate, right? It's called liberation.
Right. Want to speak to that part?
No, I just wanted.
Well, I'm still in the first, in the first three, right? So I haven't quite understood the moksha part. But yeah, I mean, I guess at some point when you've kind of burnt out yourself with the
pursuit.
Yeah, the pursuit of happiness, right? The U.S. I think it's the U.S. Constitution says every person has the freedom to for the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Right, and making my life miserable for others.
Well, it's funny how the word liberty is in there, because liberty is moksha, right? And I'm just kind of riffing right now, but liberty, moksha, life could be dharma, and the pursuit of happiness is like artha kama. Yeah. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They got three in there, which pursuit of happiness, pursuit would be artha, the pursuit of it, and kama is the happiness, the fruits of the results of that hard work. And then one is, actually we want to become liberated. That's the ultimate goal of that.
I mean, Bhagavad Gita gives so much tips about it, and again, it's very practical, and very often we don't really don't have time to think about it, because it's just, get up in the morning, start doing what you do, you did what you do, come home, spend time with the family and go to sleep, and it's just, go to club, whatever you're there. If we understand the pattern of life, it's very trivial. It doesn't matter how complicated your work is. Ultimately, your end result, you cannot eat more than you can eat, right? It doesn't matter what kind of food you enjoy, if it's unhealthy, you will get sick. So you need to have a healthy food. You need to have healthy amount of food, otherwise you become obese. So how much you can
check out our podcast on Bhakti and diet.
Yes. But it doesn't matter if you are billionaire, millionaire, you cannot increase that. You cannot be healthy and have a fit physique if you don't put your time and your mind into it, and your willpower into it. You could be very could be the richest person in the world, but be unhealthy and somewhat unfit, or maybe obese. Money cannot buy you that. So there are certain things which doesn't matter how poor or how rich you are, you still need to do. The quality of your sleep matters, and the more you involve with your mind in all different enterprises which you have, and the more you possess, the more people and the more famous you are, the more you become the target of scrutiny and criticism. Envy and criticism, and you fart in the wrong time, it's like a bomb blast, so it's all just
it's heard around the world.
It's heard around the world. And it's just you pay for everything. You want to become famous, there's a plus side, but it's equally unpleasant side to it. So many people have a tremendous mental health problem. So you need to know what you wish for. How to say? You need to know what you wish for, because you think this is pursuit of my happiness, but at the end of the day, if you don't understand what actually makes you happy, and Krishna says that the it's a very nice verse, that the pleasure which come from the contact of the senses, means tongue, arms, sense of touch, sense of sight, sense of smell. So this is our gross senses. When we come in contact with the object of the senses, this is very temporary, short-lived, and a source of misery. Oh, like if you think that this is something which you need to go and work towards, that's already a disclaimer which Krishna made, so if you don't, so the creator made a disclaimer. If you're just trying to do that, there's a problem, inherent problem in this, so like if smoking is dangerous for your health, you will die, but people still do it, now those who are a little more smart, they say, okay, if it's explicitly dangerous for me, I better don't do that, fire burns, so like that. But he says that the pleasure which come from contact with sattva, or the mode of goodness, which requires much more tranquility, peacefulness, it's not, how you say, dog race, right? It's not a dog race.
It's not hectic.
It's not hectic. You cannot be happy being hectic. You can be. People think they are happy, but it's short-lived, and it's burning. It's burning on the other end, on both ends. So you will be burned out, and you will be frustrated. So coming into peacefulness, tranquility, being virtuous, being kind-hearted, compassionate, all these qualities of goodness, they bring another quality of happiness, which is still material, but just on a higher level. It's still not it. This is peacefulness, new age kind of thing, it's still not it. This is unfortunately so good that people think that's it, and without knowledge, then they get there, and they can be born in the heavenly planets or in higher species. So it's progressive, but it doesn't counteract if you did something unholy or sinful in the past. Your becoming sattvic does not counteract anything which you know. So you get to enjoy something maybe in the future life, but you also, or even in this life, but then you'll have to pay for all the other things which you have done, and they were not counteracted specifically. So basically, if we stay in this pursuit of dharma, artha, kama, it's a vicious circle which basically brings us back. Sometimes we can go up, sometimes we can go down, sometimes we can remain on the same level, but it's not satisfying to the soul, to somebody who we really are. And again, it's easier said than done, but the more we talk about it, the more we remind ourselves about it. And it doesn't mean that we need to change what we do. So somebody can cook for oneself, and somebody can cook for Krishna. The act is, or for God. If somebody is in other religious tradition, cook for God, and then the same activity, one brings material result, another brings transcendental results. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that in this endeavor, when you do something on transcendental plane, there's no loss. It's like a bank account. When you always put something, it never getting withdrawn. And then when you reach a certain level of the deposit, then you are eligible to go to being reinstated in your original transcendental position. Anyway, maybe this is too much for the beginning, but what do you think?
I think it's good. I think it's good. It's a real analysis of this process. We I think what is the goal, right? Like what are our goals? What sometimes we have just daily goals. I'm going to get up, I'm going to complete what I need to do today, right? Or we have, and I've never actually been a great goal setter, to tell you the truth, and it's probably something that I could work on.
Do you have a productivity app?
No, I don't. I need an app for that. There's an app to help me set my goals. All right, well, you show
I
it.
don't have it also.
Okay,
I don't know it exists.
No, the way I generally operate better, and that's why I resonate with this idea of Dharma as being, let me do what I'm good at. Let me do what excites me. Let me try to become better at what I love to do. Like that for me. Now, there's always challenges in maybe my Dharma. I might not feel every day like taking care of my kids or something, there might be challenges in that. That is my Dharma at this point in my life. So I think when we're using Dharma, we're using in this kind of context, we're using it a lot is in like our occupational duty, right? Like somewhat of a duty, and a little less as the inherent nature of the spirit and the soul, right? We're using Dharma as a more like, okay, the Dharma of a cook is to cook. The Dharma of a parent is to parent. The Dharma of, like that. Like, I think we're in this context, it's used a little differently. Right. And there's so many, we could just have a whole discussion on just the word Dharma, what it is, how many ways that this is used as religion, as the nature of the spirit, which is beyond religion, right? Because you can change your religion. You can call God one name and then you can decide, oh, I'm going to go to nirvana or something, so that can be changed. But Dharma isn't like that. In the deepest context, it's not like that. In this context, it's a lot to do with our occupational duty, what we do. And in that context, I think that for me, like I was saying, that I haven't like been like such a goal setter necessarily, but I find that when I apply myself to what I'm, and I use the word passionate about, not in the sense of rajas passion, but what I'm interested in, what excites me, what makes me feel peaceful and settled. Even if it's in chaos, I still feel, I imagine those, I'm going back to World Cup, those soccer players on the field in the insanity and in, tens of thousands of people watching them in this international, stage. They're focused. Like they're focused on that one thing. It's their nature. Like they've trained for that, and we can train and find those things. Like, for myself, it's like in a kirtan or in a musical setting, like whatever is happening around, whatever chaos is happening around, somehow or other, there's like a pinpoint precision focus on what I'm doing. I think that's like meditation in a way,
It is.
Yeah, right. And I pray that everyone finds what that is for them. It may be something else. It may be actually sitting in meditation. It may be writing, where someone sits down to write. My wife, she sits down to write and she's in that zone. Like she's fully in that place and nothing will really disturb her. She's in there. So everyone has it. Maybe for you, it's like, I'm sure there's many things, but I would imagine that when you're exercising, you're there, you're present, you're experiencing. I'm
struggling.
Yeah, well, there's a struggle too, but but you got those gains, right? What's the gains? What's the goal? The goal is the gains, right? So you're putting in the energy, and the result is coming, right? And of course to take that kind of exercise analogy, and then the result is that you feel good. That's the karma, the enjoyment. You feel good. You look good. you feel healthy, you feel strong, you can protect your family, you can protect yourself, there's so many things. And I would say that even within any little thing, there's probably an aspect to it of moksha, of liberation. Like you're liberating when I exercise, like anxieties go away, like I'm not worried about things in that moment. Like you just sweat and you're working and your blood is pumping and your muscles are being used, and kind of all the kind of worries or the anxieties or lethargy or things that you're liberated from that. So almost in everything that we do, there might be these like this.
And you know why it is? Because from all this lethargy and depression is the product of mode of ignorance. So once you exercise, you push yourself to another mode, passion. So you kind of shake off the lethargy. That's interesting thing,
Yeah.
So it's really a scientific way. That's why many people say if you are depressed or feeling down, just go and do something heavy physical, just not immediately meditate, because from ignorance to goodness is very difficult jump, so you need to basically drag yourself out of lethargy by doing something physical, heavy work, or
especially for men,
men,
you got to use that energy. I mean, everyone does, but you got to use that energy in a positive way that's uplifting, and that kind of gets things moving, right? Gets the energies moving.
So it's a scientific result actually.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to kind of a little bit sidetrack into meditation, because being in a zone, like a lot of people would say, playing games, they're in a zone. The world doesn't exist for them. Or binge watching Netflix, they're in a zone. They can they of course very often eat some kind of junk. That's what we call couch potato. So it's not productive, but mind is absorbed. So what is the difference from this kind of absorption of the mind, or mind being absorbed in something different, like meditation or the chanting of the name? Of course, this is transcendental, but even being absorbed in your work, in your goals, because the result, you actually don't think about anything, if you are engaged in any kind of absorbing activity, like sometimes you come as kids, they just they tell them, they don't hear you, They don't see, they don't know it's day or night, they're in a Call of Duty or whatever, whatever they're playing. So what do you think is the difference, or what is why the quality of this system? What is interesting actually, that we have this capacity. We have the capacity of being fully absorbed. Yeah. So that just shows it.
Yeah. Thank you for
what is the difference?
Thank you for getting into that, because we're putting impressions, right? What impressions? And I would say that actual meditation, deep meditation, is either cleansing yourself of the impressions, right? Not putting in more impressions through the senses, but actually removing the impressions so that the true self can start to shine through, and of course to take that. So that's like kind of like maybe like a moksha, like a mukti, like a liberation of these impressions that we've put on, right? So yeah, obviously, like you said, we have this inherent nature to focus on something and ultra focus, but it's usually done through some type of sensual way, whether it be food, games, sex, whatever it is, like ultra focus into that, and meanwhile then it's layering on more impressions as opposed to the freedom from those impressions, right? And the mind is very impressionable. It's like it reflects whatever. If you read something, that's what you're going to think about. You watch something, that's what you're going to think about. You're hearing something, it's very impressionable. So meditation is in a way is actually just kind of, allowing the clearing of those things, not focusing on them, not not being on them. And in a spiritual, and in a more, let's say, on a bhakti path, our meditation is then to put the impressions of God into our consciousness, right? To bring the impressions, specifically for us through mantra, to imprint our consciousness, imprint our mind, imprint our being with the names of God, which are considered to be non-different from God. And that maybe leads us to, in the bhakti path, they talk of the pancham purushartha, right? The pancham purushartha, we had the 4, and pancham means 5. So the 5th one is to do everything and to have love, prema, and love specifically for God, love for watering the roots of the tree, and then everything else flourishes, the whole branches and the flowers and the leaves and the root, the trunk, everything flourishes when we water the root. So offering our goal in devotion to to loving God, to prema, and through that, all the other things can make sense. Like you referred to, if you're a cook, the beautiful thing about the bhakti path is that if you're a parent or you're a cook or you're a teacher, whatever your occupation, whatever your dharma may be, you can offer the results, you can offer that to God first. And you don't have to change what you do. That's the beautiful thing. We don't have to change what we do. We just have to add, we say Krishna, just add Krishna, just add God, just add love for the divine into that activity, and then start to be guided, I would say.
And you kind of know whom, not only what are you doing it for, but whom you are doing it for.
Mm-hmm.
For your beloved one, somebody whom you love. Maybe you trying to learn to love, but by offering something, these feelings also start to grow. I was thinking as you were speaking that maybe coming back to this absorption, which not necessarily a very helpful absorption, is maybe something to the effect when Krishna says you can do perfect. It's better to do one own duty imperfectly than doing somebody else's duty perfect. So this seems to be it's not your duty. It's not your duty. You're doing it perfectly. You're fully absorbed. You may be good at it, but it doesn't bring you anything. So it doesn't promote you. It doesn't. So your absorption, the process, is counterproductive to where you as a soul need to move. And that's maybe the difference. And of course, another point is that it can be helpful in a short term by snapping out of just being absorbed, self-absorbed, so absorbed in self-pity. Just get yourself out of focusing on your pain or being victim or being mistreated or being misunderstood or whatever type of self-pity and resentfulness. And this is most unhealthy place to be anyway. So maybe temporarily it's better to just snap out of it and absorb mind even in some nonsense, but just get away. It's like a crutch, I guess, for somebody who is not able to immediately come to the positive thinking and immediately come into productive life and productive thinking and seeing everything.
Baby steps.
Yeah, so maybe I'm basically speculating here, but I think that's something which really just takes your mind from dreadful place into useless space. It's useless, but it's not anymore dreadful. And I think it's better. I think millions times better than just take some Adderall or Xanax, and otherwise then you become addict, and your bedtimes getting multiplied. You become dependent, and your anxiety and also you lose. It's like when instead of using your muscles, you just get some kind of mechanical device, and your muscles completely don't work.
Or you get a surgery.
Yeah.
And you haven't changed your lifestyle, but you just got like liposuction on so you have a 6-pack for a little while, but you haven't actually done the work.
Right. Well, but this is even worse, like you have, let's say, some mechanical device, and it does everything for you, and your muscles just getting weaker and weaker, and if this is removed, you completely or you maybe cannot walk.
It's a crutch.
It's a crutch, and it's unhealthy crutch. It's crutch where you overextend using the crutch, and you start using crutch for life, and then you need stronger and stronger crutch to keep you going. So I think in a modern world, if you go to psychologist or psychiatrist, this is the first thing they give you. It's just, okay, take this, you'll feel good. Nobody wants to, people lazy, don't want to do any
What's
work.
The root
and of course the doctors, they unfortunately they're interested for you to be dependent because they profit. The pharmaceutical industry, if you will be healthy, independent, they are unnecessary. There's no point of them existing. So unfortunately, the whole healthcare system is, and guys, this is not a conspiracy theory. If you're healthy, you are not interesting for pharmaceutical industry, just non-existent. They cannot make any money of you. But if you're unhealthy, and the more you're dependent on different stuff, you are cash cow.
Right. And unhealthy physically and unhealthy mentally as well.
As much as possible,
Yeah.
And so another thing is that I think I need some tablets for my memory. Just wanted to say something, and it snapped out of my head anyway.
Yeah. The Vedas they always see the big picture. The Vedas, they look at the big picture of things. So like we all have our I'm involved in a certain way for a certain amount of time. I'm allowed certain much enjoyment in that place at that time. I'm allowed certain type of amenities, right? But the Vedas are always seeing the big picture, because what can often happen is somebody they say they're a student, right, and they're studying, and then they graduate, and it's like, oh, what's next? Like now, if it's like the dharma changes, right? The occupation changes, the idea of what they're supposed to do changes, and oftentimes it's in those transitions where people don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what I want to do, right? I don't know what I want to be. I don't know who I want, what my goals are, right? So or it happens often where your parents for 18, 20 years, and then the kids grow up, and then it's like the kids left, and now what do I want to do? Like we don't, and then
we don't anticipate the change, right?
Yeah, and those things they last for a certain amount of time, but then it's constantly changing. Even say in old age, like if you were to say like someone's sex life or whatever, at some point their body may not be able to enjoy the way they did when they were a young person, right? So the amount of enjoyment, the amount of what the occupation is, what to strive for when it comes to to income or whatever, it's going to change, right? It keeps changing. So the Vedas, they really are encouraging human beings, men and women, to keep looking beyond all those things. Like keep the end goal in mind, keep the long-term vision in mind. And sometimes, there's what's called Shreyas and Preyas. Right? Preyas is, I do this and I get the benefit. I eat this bag of chips and I feel good while I'm eating it. And then afterwards, I'm like, I enjoy it in the moment. And to that enjoyment, there's always some flip side, right? There's always like another side of it. But Preyas is Shreyas is a little more of, okay, I'm gonna take my time with this. Like, I'm doing this gradually. I'm saving. I'm putting it in my savings. What is the long-term results? Okay, I'm living a little more meagerly right now. I'm being aware, just using a kind of financial example, but I'm putting a little something in for the long-term results. And generally, it's the people who are putting in for the long term and that are being aware that benefit, right? And it's the people that are just like, the immediate gratification, fast food, everything right now, and we live in it. I mean, I would say that a big part of the mental health issue is we have constant dopamine as we scroll through our phones. Like, constantly little shots of dopamine are being shot into our brain. And there's only a finite amount of that chemical that can go into our brain. And at some point, we're just crashing.
It dulls out.
Yeah. I mean, Prahlad Maharaj, the great Bhakti saint, he's just a 5-year-old boy, the servant of Nrsingadev. This is my Nrsingadev ring right there. He says that just as one doesn't, happiness will come of its own accord. Just as one doesn't pursue distress, but distress comes of its own accord. Like, we don't pursue distress, but we're going to get it. We're all allotted. We check out the podcast on karma. We're all allotted a certain amount of happiness and a certain amount of distress. And every individual has a different amount of that. And so we pursue the pursuit of happiness, right? The pursuit of happiness is something that every being is looking for. And unfortunately, we're looking for it in usually the wrong places, because those little shots of dopamine that are coming in, whether they be little shots or bigger shots, it's just making us more addicted to that. It's getting us more addicted to that, more dependent on that, making that more of a crutch. And it's not solving the problem, right? So he says that just as if we don't search for distress, but it comes itself, happiness will also come. And that's where the yogi, or the person who is a little more on an equilibrium, has the equilibrium. They're not overjoyed when happiness comes, and they're not overly upset when something goes wrong, right? We have to keep our balance. We have to keep what is that goal.
Yeah, Krishna says it's like a waves, and waves can agitate small river or small pond, but huge oceans, it's no problem. Doesn't matter how big of the waves, it doesn't disturb the core of the ocean. And says he equates this with somebody with a deep wisdom, somebody, a sage of a controlled mind. He gets the desires. Desires come and go. Impressions, as they say, we call it in Sanskrit, vasanas. Different impressions, they may come and go, but he's like, okay, he doesn't dwell on them. They don't kind of throw him or her off balance. And it's just something which doesn't disturb a person in the core. Of course, to get there, one needs to understand that I want to get there, and we're not in a game for immediate gratification. This is such a powerful thing which Prahlad Maharaj says, and he said it 2 times actually, and then before that also the Narada Muni says the same point. This is such an important point, that we never want unhappiness come. So whether we want happiness or not, it will come. This is not what we need to endeavor for. It's like another example, if it's winter right now, right, and you want summer so badly, doesn't matter how much you put endeavor, you might work, okay, now I start working for the summer, and I work, ultimately summer will come, and I might be foolishly thinking, oh, it's because I work, summer has come, and then summer is too hot. So, okay, now I need to start working for the winter, and work, winter comes, okay, it's a result of my endeavor. But if I don't do anything, it will still come and go. Like sun sets and sun rises, you don't need to put any endeavor to it. And so the karma in such a way, but it's such a powerful notion, which is unfortunately so difficult to keep in front of one's mind, even for somebody who understands it. What to say if you don't know about it? I know in my life I struggle with this, because I forget about it. And even if now we talk, it's coming back, okay, then getting back into normal life, then again you start slipping to the, into more, or let's say less spiritually productive patterns. And therefore it's important to speak about it every day, to remind oneself about every day. In Bhagavatam it is said, every day one needs to read Bhagavatam. Why? Because we are conditioned by our karma, by our psychophysics, our mentality, and we are influenced the more we kind of consume normal, quote-unquote, values of this world, the more we get contaminated by those values, and then real values which we truly believe in, God and our relationship with Him and the goal of life, transcendence, they become in kind of covered again. So that's important, very, very important. One of the most important principles of spiritual life is to feed your mind and your intelligence constantly with elevated topics, with a spiritual truth, opposing, as opposed to just whatever consumerism and whatever people want to show off, whatever you want, the others want you to buy. Of course, the more desires created in you, most probably you and me, we already bought so many things in our life which we never would buy it, but somehow this advertisement came and it convinced us that we need this stuff. We bought it and we never used it.
And it's so easy to buy it. You just got to click something.
It's not so expensive also, right? So that's the point, that it's very important to have a mental diet.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, our awareness, constant awareness. Okay, I'm consuming this product through some sense, and is it beneficial long run? Is it beneficial towards my long-term goals, or is it a hindrance towards my long-term well-being? This is super important. I think that this topic is something that we could really open up on, that kind of what you just talked about, that mental diet. What impressions are we putting in, and what are we consuming, and how is it being manipulated for us to because it is natural for us to take in something. It's natural. Like, I don't think you or I are very good at just sitting silently and taking in nothing. There are maybe great meditators that listen to our podcast. You can give us your tips, but it's our nature to take in something. And so the question in Bhakti is, and just for our mental well-being, but in Bhakti is like, what are you taking in? I mean, in one of it says that of all the rules and regulations in Bhakti, take in those things that enhance your love, your love for Krishna, your love for God, your remembrance, your feelings of love, and stay away from those things that aren't serving that purpose. So here we are talking about like the purpose of life, right? The purpose and these four things, these four aspects that give purpose to a human life. I would encourage that that each one of us kind of looks at what am I doing? What occupation am I doing? Where am I at in my life? What is my dharma? What is my, how can I keep realigning that awareness with what is my purpose? And then, what am I getting? What is the results I'm getting back from that? What is the results? Okay, I'm getting, whether it be an income, like a financial income, or just camaraderie, or whether it be, okay, I feel mentally stable from this. These are all the incomes, right? And then, we have our, how much am I enjoying that? How much am I, like, enjoying the result of that work? Am I overly enjoying it? Am I setting something aside for the long term? And what am I being liberated from in that activity? Like where's the moksha coming in? Where am I being uplifted? Where am I being letting go of these things gradually? The unnecessary things, unnecessary baggage, so I can really start to elevate to that place. And ultimately, we want to open our hearts open with love, right? That's our ultimate goal, and that's the bhakta's ultimate goal.
Yeah. And it's very difficult to pursue this goal because we don't have experience of what it is actually. And this is, and you don't have too many people who, like if you see something somewhere, right? Somebody who is rich and say, okay, guys, I make my first million when I was 21 and I was hustling and doing this, and now I created course and this and that, and they show their fancy lifestyle and everything, and many people just, oh, I want this for me, I want this for me. And it's been like recently, it's been a huge surge of people just craving for the lifestyle, craving for the perfect perfect body, for the perfect boyfriend or
Partner,
girlfriend,
yeah.
or perfect partner, because they see, oh, others have it and it's inspiring. In the same way, we need to find somebody who tastes in this transcend. So they taste in the results of what they do. Of course, they don't show up, and sometimes you see the videos that I want to kill myself. I'm on the verge of a mental anxiety. I was showing you all this fancy life, but in reality, I was just struggling and creating, popping content like crazy. But I'm empty inside. There's nothing. So again and again, you see this kind of people who are fleshing out this kind of sparkly lifestyle. Very often there's a huge drama and misery and distress going on in the background, but they don't show it, and ultimately it pops up sometimes, but why we buy, what you as a viewer buy into is the advertisement. So they taste in something, they want to show it off, tasting at least at some point. Then somebody who tastes higher spiritual bliss, we need to find such people who are indifferent to material things. And even you can find it among, like I was impressed by, let's say Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Who is the most famous person. And I saw this interview with him and Piers Morgan, right? He was talking about, and he doesn't put value too much on his wealth and fame. So it's nice, I like it, yes, I live for my fans, but my family comes first. When he went through a huge tragedy, right? His girlfriend, they then still not married, she gave birth, and to the twins, and boy was dead. He was born dead, and they had to go. There was such a mental, in the middle of having so much money, so much fame, real human pain there, and very few people could really truly understand him and give him proper space. And his club, then his girl, she was also having some complications, so he missed pre-season trainings or whatever. And then the club was punishing him. He said, my daughter was in hospital. I had to be there for her. Family comes first, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear such things, you know, he broke up with his previous fancy girlfriend, whatever, because she didn't like his mother, and said, okay, you don't like my mother, I cannot build my life with you. So he has this
values.
It's not transcendental values, but it's higher values, and it's admirable.
Yeah.
And then when he was choosing to play, I think Saudi Arabia was giving him contract for $350 million.
Wow.
Like this is like way beyond for 2 years or something like that. And he didn't take it. He said, I have love for the game, so I want to be somewhere where. So he took a smaller contract with Manchester United in UK, and for the love of game, of course, he still got a lot of money, but he was choosing. He kind of gave up more money for a smaller, still huge amount, but because he wanted to be with a club which he loved. He came from there, and then he was telling how this club going through whatever difficulties, and he goes away because there's a human factor, human misunderstanding, envy, competitiveness, and lack of respect. And I said, when there's lack of respect, I cannot stay. This is another. So those are values. Even for somebody who is very rich, they understand it's higher than money. You know, when you give up your honor, when you give up your respect for money, for wealth, this is very low class life. Higher than this is family values, the values of honor. I mean, some warriors, they say, I would rather die than be dishonored. You know, I rather die protect. So the value of truthfulness and honor in the higher your level of consciousness is, that's something you value. This is your artha. It's different. Like so the lower class mentality would be just eat, sleep, you know, drink and get married, you know, like basic animalistic life. The higher level of consciousness, we can discuss this. I think this is interesting, 5 different levels of consciousness. So those are different arthas. And then absolutely transcendental Anandamaya is where, again, we want to aspire for, we don't have any experience. Like I can have experience to have nice pizza, but I also have experience, I cannot have too much. And at some point I can have ice cream or whatever. Most fancy food, whatever we vegetarians or vegans can eat, still could be very fancy, but there it's limited. It's limited, and you understand, it's not what you live for. You know, sex is not what you live for. Different paragliding, you know, like bungee jumping, all this, like it's not what you live for. It gives you some rush of adrenaline, but it's not what you live for. And then, you know, gradually you come to experiencing some glimpse of higher pleasure, which is not and I think this is what we need to experience to actually want it and put it as our artha, as a goal, and then our karma would be also connected to this. So the enjoyment of the transcendental or the higher senses, then it's much easier to get to moksha, because you understand on this level it's only that, unhindered, neither by time, space, nor by, you know, disease, birth, death, disease, old age. All these factors are not playing into it. But of course, then the highest is then beyond it. It's relationship. And I think we all can. That's why family value is so important, because when we love somebody, when somebody loves us back on this level, it's the most satisfying, humanly satisfying experience. And then the more you develop it on the finer levels with transcendental personalities, then once you start connect to it, then this is eternal and ever growing. So yeah, we definitely need to find such people, to find such personalities, and get inspired by their example before we able to taste it ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Find your inspiration. Find those people who inspire that that depth. Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add to it?
I love it. I love it. I did want to, since we're on the topic of football, the Saudi Arabian team was the whole team when they won the first game. They were given, each one of them was given a Rolls Royce, $6 million car. Imagine the jubilation, right? Oh, we won and we got this car. And imagine when they lost the second game, like win, you win sometimes, you lose sometimes, right? You're happy sometimes, you're sad sometimes. I can't even imagine what that level of like being high as high on that, and the enjoyment that comes from that. And then, and then the next time you strive for it and you try, because who knows what they're going to get next if they actually win, or who knows what punishment they're going to get if they don't win. It's a Saudi Arabian country, but just that, that level of high and lows that we go through. It's like, it's a roller coaster, and we need to find our equilibrium, find our balance, be proactive rather than reactive to everything. I'm reactive to this. I got this. I enjoy it. I'm suffering from this. Oh, it's like getting so caught up in it. Sometimes that's where I think that, we spoke a little about meditation and that kind of awareness and that removal from the ups and downs. It's just to be a observer a little bit of those things that are going on for us or around us. Really, the spirit is untouched by all these things. The spirit is just going on this ride, going on this roller coaster ride. The spirit, who we really are, the spirit soul, is not being caught up in these things. And so, yeah, we can find those inspirations, whether it be inspiration in our, in our career, and inspirations in family, inspirations in our way of thinking, thought inspirations, people who bring us to think deeper, and of course inspirations in our spiritual path, to align ourselves with those personalities, whether they be living or whether they may have passed on, but they left their teachings for us, and we can follow in those footsteps in our own way. It's a beautiful way. It's a beautiful path.
Yeah. I was thinking that even on this path, and our society have been shaken recently by very unpleasant, let's say, discovery of one of respected leaders being caught in very unholy activities. And for many, some are in complete denial that this has happened because they put so much faith in this person, and it's a natural, I think, coping mechanism. Say, okay, it's not true, it cannot be, because they've been invest so much faith in the person and seen such a great side of this person, and they cannot believe there was this dark side. And then somebody who they understand that happened and they believe what happened, then they lose faith in the whole process. Okay, if this person was like this, then I cannot trust anybody. So it's very important to surround oneself by many examples of saints, somebody, because we're all fallible, right? And you never know, at certain level of spiritual advancement, even up to quite high, still illusion can grab you and pull you down. And not to say that it is excuse for somebody to do horrible things, but we are surrounded by another 20, 30, or
We have a support
50
system
of those who are not falling down and who are still exemplify the purity and exemplify their kind of where we want to go. I mean, their realm and their mentality and their consciousness, which we want to achieve and go beyond it. So yeah, it's the world will still challenge us. The situation will challenge us. Our faith will be challenged, and therefore it's also important to connect, have personal connection to God as well, have connection to Guru. That's why in Vedas you say you have a tripod of support. It's Shastra, holy scriptures given by God. It's your Guru or Gurus. You can have multiple Gurus. One Guru who initiates you, but another, there's many Guru who guide you, And then sadhus is just association of other saintly people on the same or higher level than yourself. And then Shastra could be misunderstood without Guru and Sadhu. Guru can fall down and misguide oneself. It has been happening. Then you have sadhus who will support you at this moment. And then, for example, some of the sadhus can fall down. And then you have Guru and other sadhus to support. So it's a perfect support system. It's designed in such a way that all three never fails. So there's always a kind of this mechanism given by Krishna, designed safety mechanism.
And I mean, I know that this isn't, I can't probably find a quote for what I'm going to say, but I would add that we have an intuition. We have an intuition. We have the voice within us, and if we can really connect personally to that voice, to that power within, the power of God really within us. It's not me, it's the power of God that is inspiring. If I as the jiva, the tiny infinitesimal spirit, can hear that and really align myself with that and see the guidance that comes in all these so-called external ways, through the teachings, through what I read, through what I study, through what I listen to, through the association, then I can, what I would say where the intuition for me comes in is I've been guided by teachers, by personalities to find those things that inspire me, like really hang on to those things. I have like my phone is full of notes of various inspirational quotes or inspirational little things that I read, or, whether it be fully bhakti devotional or whether it be from somewhere else, but just like really hang on to those things, because there are going to be some things that I either read or some persons that I've put my faith in that then have, disrupted that faith, that have challenged that faith, or, how could so-and-so do that? Or how could this teaching say this thing, right? We're going to have our doubts, and there's going to be certain things, like you said, that challenge our faith, and it's going to be there. What I've been advised to do is to really, to sincerely hang on to those activities, those services, those personalities, those teachings that keep me connected, that resonate with me. And what I have faith is that, or what I try to have develop the faith in, is that the things that aren't making sense may gradually start to make sense to me, you know? And if our faith is so kind of fragile that we've put it, like we're talking about crutches, right? Whether, crutches, something becoming dependent on, we become dependent even on a person. I'm dependent on this person, and this person is going to cross me over the material existence, and they're my savior and everything like that. And, I'm personally in a place where I'm just exploring that concept a little bit and wanting to know what is the right way to pursue that, to not become codependent,
right?
But
it's actually very important to understand how this Guru Tattva, or the principle of Guru, works. Is that certain personality can be empowered with this potency, with this energy, and become our connecting link to Krishna or to absolute truth. And Krishna wants that we have somebody who is living, not just a person who is not anymore physically present in this world. It's very important that you have physically present guide. But if this person fails, also can be fallible, then this principle of Guru leaves this person and then can be deposited in another person. So it's important that we are never dependent on a person, but we're dependent on principle of Guru, which Krishna himself, and if person fails, then we will seek it in another person. That, I think, again, the knowledge.
It's representative. If the representative doesn't keep up to the standard, then okay, well, then somebody else will be the representative.
You have a socket, you have a wire, conducts electricity, wonderful. Then it got broken. Then you plug it in another wire.
It is a pain.
It is huge pain. It's huge pain.
When the electricity goes out,
it's huge.
It's a pain, I just want to, because, we've brought up this topic, and I just want to be, for anyone that knows what we're talking about, or, we want to be completely clear that this has been a horrible, revelation that has come out, and in no way do we support the activities of this person?
Oh no.
Yeah. I just want to, in case, what do you think about this? And what do let's just be clear.
We specifically
about it,
don't bring anyone's names, because this been,
it's not a point of this discussion.
We are not speaking to the society of, Hare Krishna society, which is kind of directly affected by it, and they know what we are talking about. Mm-hmm. But we're speaking with too many Bhakti practitioners from all variety of different traditions, who anyway, this name doesn't mean anything.
But we also want to be genuine. We want to be transparent. We want to, pull from our own experiences what we're going through, and this is something that we are in discussion about and are going through, so it's on our mind. So we just bring it out there as an example for this topic to try and learn from it.
Absolutely.
How to learn from it, because if we don't learn from it, it's just the same mistake happens again and again.
It's been happening again and again. But and here we are, we're still
trudging along
on this ship, and we're still how you say alone? What you do alone? Some you said dragging along.
I said trudging along. Trudging along.
Yeah, so we're
trudging.
Yes, yeah. So we are not leaving the ship, but trudging along, and because there is no alternative, there is no other way. There is no. There would be roadblocks. There would be frustrations. There would be heartbreaks, but there's no alternative, and there's no other goal which is more sublime than, understand who you are, that you are eternal servant of God, and your goal in this life is to know Him and to love Him. That this will never change.
Absolutely.
On this positive note.
Yes, thank you.
Let's we'll meet you in the next week, and we'll pick up something interesting, or you please suggest us something interesting which you want to be discussed, and we find always very pleasurable experience for, that's something I find. This is part of my dharma, to sit here with Vish and talk about philosophy of life in a practical way.
Thank you for tuning into the Bhakti Zone podcast.
Haribol.
Haribol.